Welcome back, folks. Friedemann Findeisen here from Holistic Songwriting. Today we're looking at part 2 of the Canohead escape room, and we're going to solve puzzles number 4, 5, and 6. So before we get into it, obviously a little plug here, because that's the reason I created this whole escape room. Not just for fun, obviously, but also to promote my album. This is Subface by my project Canohead. It's available on Bandcamp, Spotify, iTunes, in all the usual places, and on YouTube here as well, of course. So let's get into it. This is level 4. This one is called Talk to Me, and I gave the following clues on it. Number 1 was RUL, I think, blank. Number 2 was reorder the previous sentence and repeat to yourself. Number 3 was change the blank, then look closely. So that was the 3 tips that I gave. Kind of a difficult one, not to spoil too much, but if you want to give it a go, take your time and see if you can come up with the correct solution. You can still follow the link in the description to beat the entire escape room by yourself if you want right now. So let's start with the first clue that's helpful here, and that's the RUL, I think, blank. Change the blank. So what that means is, again, you're supposed to rearrange the first sentence and use it as the blank. So RUL becomes I think URL. So what does that remind us of? It reminds us of the letters URL. So what is the URL for this? It's the right way. So how does that make any sense? Well, the painting itself says go the other way. So what we actually have to do in this puzzle is we have to go to the URL and change it from the right way to the wrong way. And if we do that, the website will actually take us to another site, which is a SoundCloud page, which has this audio file on it. And I'll play it for you real quick.
My cell phone is my biggest problem.
So that's what we have so far, an audio file that says my cell phone is my biggest problem. However, if we try to type that into the answer box, it doesn't help us. So again, it's a 2-part puzzle. We have to take this one step further. So if you look very closely, and again, the clue here was look closely once you found the page, you will see that the 2 audio files are actually different. So the one from the painting is not similar, is similar, but not the same as the one we see on SoundCloud. And what we have to do is actually rearrange the audio file so it looks like the one at the bottom. And if we do that, the words also form a new sentence. So the sentence becomes, my biggest problem is myself, right? And it cuts off the phone. So it basically just says myself. And that's the answer to the puzzle. The answer is the word myself. Let's look at puzzle number 5 next. This one is called Too Dark. And this is my absolute favorite puzzle in the series. And if you want to try at least one of all of these puzzles, I would suggest you go for this one. It's not terribly difficult. A lot of people have solved it very, very quickly. And it is my absolute favorite in the series. I'm really proud of this one, so please try it out yourself if you have a little bit of time and you enjoy this kind of thing. If you enjoy this kind of thing, obviously try the whole escape room. But this one here, I would be particularly disappointed if you watch this explanation before you try it yourself, because I think it's a very rewarding puzzle. So the tips I gave on this one were, number 1, start with the clue in the center, and the URL will help. So the first clue we actually need to use is starting with the clue in the center, and the URL tells us too dark. So if you look at all these dots, what could that mean? Well, we could connect them, we could count them, but really if we look a little bit closer and think about that line, too dark, what could that tell us possibly? And hopefully at this point you will have figured out that we're actually talking about a very specific system, a coding system, and this is actually 3 lines. So this is kind of what that looks like. And the coding system we're talking about is Braille, right? So this lettering system for people who can't see, basically, or are visually handicapped. So if we translate this, that gives us the code Himmel und Hölle. And if we try to type that into the answer field, still we don't get a correct solution. So apparently there is still another level to this whole thing. So Himmel und Hölle is a German word. And hopefully what I expect most people to do at this point that don't speak German is they're going to type it into Google to see what it means. They'll figure out it means heaven and hell. That won't really help them. I think every German will probably know this. And if you type it into Google, you should typically find this as well. So here's me Googling Himmel und Hölle. It usually will show you this, right? If you go for the image search, it will show you this, and then it should be fairly clear as to what you're supposed to do here. Okay, so what you actually have to do is you actually have to print out the picture, and then you have to take it through a series of these steps that's outlined on the image search on Google. And if you do that, you will end up with this little toy here. And if you open it up in two ways, it will tell you the final code, and that's devil is in the details, as you can see here. So that's level 5, too dark. Finally for today, let's look at level 6. This one's called Lonnie's Lament, and a lot of you, there's going to be a small portion of you guys who will be like, oh, this is obvious, this is really easy, and they can tell you the answer immediately. And we had some people who made it through level 6 very, very quickly. Some people were really stumped by this one, which is always a fun thing. And this one was really one where I wanted to encourage the community a little bit to work together, because some people will have huge problems with this one. Others will just go through this one like a breeze. So the tips I gave on this one were, first and foremost, the URL will help. And that was the only tip I ever needed to give. Nobody really got stuck on this one. It's not too difficult. So the clue is Lonnie's Lament. Now, what is Lonnie's Lament? Well, if you Google it, you will find that it is a jazz standard written by John Coltrane. It's one of my favorite jazz songs of all time. So if you don't know it, go check it out. It's absolutely stunning. One of my favorite songs of all time. Just such a beautiful ballad off of one of my favorite albums of his. And well, the clue here that you're supposed to figure out is, or maybe that you could maybe think of, is if you see this cover, is the saxophone. Okay, well, and then if you continue down this line of thought, you'll realize that this is actually saxophone fingering. So if you pick up the saxophone, if you start learning that instrument, you won't actually start with the notes typically, but you'll start with these little diagrams of like colored in dots to remember which pistons to push down, basically, to control the airflow within the instrument. So when we do that, we look at this first column on the left here that actually corresponds to an F. Well, an E sharp probably wouldn't make sense, so it's probably the F. The second column, so that's the first letter we have here, is an F. Second letter is clearly an A, so that's letter 2. And we continue in this way. The third one would be a C, and so on and so forth. And we end up with the word facade. And that's the answer for level 6. So with all of this, obviously, I'm trying to promote my album, but I also really want to honor the other people who worked on honor. It sounds so dramatic, but really, that's how I feel. I'm so proud of this, and it couldn't have happened without these wonderful people to make it work. And I really feel indebted to them forever for helping me make this work come true, this album come true. That's Mako Maya on drums. So grateful for your great work, man. He was so sick and still managed to pull off some of the greatest drum recordings. Was really happy with how you did, man. Just absolutely incredible. Charlie on the mixing, just again, can't thank you enough, man. It was just absolutely incredible working with you, and this won't be the last time for sure. Glenn Schick on the mastering, Niklas Hare on the programming for the Escape Room, Bahadur Fatemi, who did all the artwork for the album and for the Escape Room. So thankful. Thank you all so much. And thank you for watching this video and playing the Escape Room, hopefully. Take care and stay gefährlich. Cheers.